right center. That ball is gone into Monument Park.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 36th episode of the Monument Park podcast. There was a point in time when Luke and I did not post an episode because we feared we'd be too redundant. That redundancy was rooted through our consistent success. Today, sitting here on August 15th, the New York Yankees are 3-9 in the month of August, 8-15 since the All-Star break, have lost their last 4 series, and are 20-25 in their last 45 games. The Yankee offense has been completely feeble across that span, and nothing has changed. The Bronx Bombers haven't even shown any signs of turning this around, and we're getting close to going into full panic mode. Despite this embarrassing span, though, the Yankees are still 72-43 and 10 games up on the Toronto Blue Jays. Luke, what's going through your mind right now?
More anger than panic. I wouldn't say my panic meter is even very high. And part of that is the division cushion. Like, we're still playing to par of the Blue Jays. Like, there hasn't been too much movement, which it's hard to be scared about us getting in the playoffs when we're 10 games up.
Yeah.
We lost home field to Houston. We're 2.5 down, 2 in the first column. But I think I mentioned this to Cole off the podcast, is like the only time that's even played a huge factor was 2017 when we just got cheated. 2018, Fenway, we split the first 2 and then came back and just lost at home. 2019, the same thing. We split the first 2, lost 2 out of 3 at home, and we really had a chance to put a knife in that. And then 2020 and 2021,
it was all away.
We were bad. Like, and
it was all on the road.
That's what I mean. Well, 2020, I don't know, but 2021, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, like it's more just about being good enough than the home field. And I think if we went into the playoffs hot, regardless of if we retook the 1 seed or not, I would be pretty similarly confident. I weirdly like having the first 2 on the road because I feel like it puts the pressure on them and gives us a chance to regain home field in a way where potentially we could go back to game 6 up 3-2, that sort of thing. So I'm more just worried the hitting in general than the seeding. But yeah, I mean, it's been really, really frustrating to watch this team hit the ball. But when we get Stanton back, I think everything will kind of DJ will get back healthy. I think everything will kind of pick up again for sure. It's a new team since the deadline, and I feel like that kind of takes some time as well. So I think there's a lot of variables right now that aren't in our favor that can turn around before we actually have to panic.
We do have time, and you said something that I live by is the hottest team in the playoffs is going to make, the biggest impact. And you look at the Atlanta Braves last year, a wild card team, ended up winning the World Series, and they were the hottest. It didn't matter where they were playing, in Houston, back in Atlanta, they were doing the job. They won it in Houston. Solaire's home run, iced it. If this Yankee team can go into the playoffs hot, I don't really care where we're playing. I remember being scared about potentially going to play in Oakland a couple of years back. And like, there are certain like weird places to play, like the Trop, but we've played so many times in Houston, and this team it's faced Houston so many times to this point, and maybe not the certain player, the particular players, but the team itself has. And if we go in hot, how are we going to lose unless they're cheating? Like in 2017, we went back to Houston up 3-2. We need to get in that position again. So, we got to figure things out. We made a lot of changes at the deadline, not too much offensively, but I didn't really think we were going to need to. We got Benintendi, and we got one more guy, which I thought was going to be enough. But we did a lot to the pitching. So we're going to talk about that now. So the first trade was Andrew Benintendi. We talked about it on the last episode. Super happy about that. Benintendi, through 62 plate appearances, hitting 196. He's got a 617 OPS, 10 walks, 15 strikeouts. The one thing that I noticed about Benintendi so far is he's striking out a lot. And he's striking out in some fairly big situations. I wouldn't say it's concerning. I think the guy's pressing, you know, haven't played too many games at home. It's pretty much all been on the road. We had a series against Seattle at home, and he played the remaining part of that, or he played that series against Kansas City, but that's not really a series. So he hasn't really been able to like get comfortable in New York because he's been on the road most of it. And I'm not concerned. He's got 10 walks, 15 strikeouts. That walk to strikeout ratio is not bad at all. And he's put some really good swings on the like he's hit some gap, like he's hit the ball really hard. It's not like he's running into bad luck. He's struggling outside of those extra base hits, but he had a double the other night that just didn't go out. It was to
He
dead center
smacked that.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that was a big hit because, and I think a lot of people aren't gonna remember that double if that game has any significance to anybody other than IKF. But he hits the ball to center field, he gets to second base, and then we're in business. Without that, we don't have the flexibility to do a safety squeeze and score the run. So Benintendi, I am confident in. He's gonna, if he hasn't already turned it around, he's going to, and I'm interested to see how he can add to this team once they become effective again. Because right now they're terrible, and no matter what he does, they're still not going to win. Like just solely on Benintendi.
That's kind of what I've noticed as well. Well, two things I've noticed. One with the strikeouts, I don't have the numbers on this, but I feel like he's in a 3-2 count and strikes out like a lot. Like he's still seeing the ball working the count, and he just hasn't put it together, put that last swing on it
Yeah.
a couple of times. I think that's definitely a good sign to show. Like it's not
Mhm.
like he's going often and striking out 3 pitches. He's still working counts, so I think that's a sign that it's not going to be a long-term issue
Yeah.
with him as well. And then on another thing, when you're hitting 6 in a lineup and the 4-5 is the August version of Josh Donaldson and Gleyber Torres, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's they're not forced to pitch to you with runners on base. There's no support. You're probably like IKF or Hicks or whoever behind you. Like
Mm.
it's not a good situation right now. It's not even the team that we're gonna go into important games with. So
No.
I think those are two aspects that have kind of been Benintendi's Achilles heel right now. But yeah, like you, I'm not. I'm very confident still.
And he's playing a great left field. The catch he made the other night was insane. I don't know if we've had a left fielder. I mean, Garner would make some nice catches, but I mean, that was like full extension all the way out, Superman dive, catch it in Boston. I mean, there's no one that knows left field at Fenway better than Andrew Benintendi. So having him, regardless of how good or bad Boston is a plus. The next trade we made was a bit of an interesting one. I remember hearing this guy's name as a potential, just bullpen piece for anybody. And, Luke and I were thinking David Robertson. Well, we had the right team in mind. So the Yankees sent Hayden Wesneski, who I believe was the number 7 prospect at the time, which was like 2 weeks ago. Uh, you know, pretty solid starting pitcher. He's got really good, secondary stuff with his breaking ball. He's been up to 99. So he's got the 99 heater. He's got the great, twisting breaking ball. So just on the surface, he looks really good. I think personally he's going to be a 3 or 4 starter in the big leagues, and the Cubs are just going to drool over really any starting pitching with any upside because they've struggled to maintain starting pitching over the years. And we bring back Scott Efros, who is kind of your sidearm Adam Ottavino that you can pitch in high leverage moments, hopefully, and not, want to turn off the television. Scott Efros, like 3/4 sidearm. He's got, low 90s heater moves, and then he throws this just like absolute like cross the plate slider that just goes from one way to the next. It's a very good pitch mix. He's actually better against left-handed hitters than he is against right-handed hitters, which is a bit interesting. It does make sense, when you throw that slider to a righty, you have a pretty good chance of hanging it, and if you missed your spot, they're gonna hit it hard. But to the lefty, you can work outside corner, you can work way in. So there's more to do to a left-handed hitter. Sure, you can hang the slider to a lefty, but you can work on both sides of the plate. I mean, you could throw front door sliders to a right-handed hitter, but that's really challenging. But I've seen a lot of outside sliders from Scott Effross, which are very hard to hit from a left-handed hitter's standpoint because he's throwing 80 to 81, and it's starting in the middle of the right-hander's batter's box and just sliding straight to the corner. So he's a guy that I don't think I know he got the save the other night. I don't think he's a closer. That's not what I think he is. He's a guy that you're going to stick in the, sixth, seventh, eighth inning whenever you need a big out, maybe a couple outs, maybe just the inning itself. He's kind of going to be the guy that the Yankees just punch in certain moments because really that was what Michael King was. Michael King goes down with the injury. They bring in Scott Effross. He was doing great in Chicago. He's pitched 6 innings here with the Yankees, gave up 3 earned runs. It was all in a Paul DeJong home run, which was kind of a backbreaker because, in that game, I think that puts St. Louis up, 12-9, I think, or they were up by a run and they hit the 3-run home run. So it wasn't like he blew the game. DJ comes up the next inning, hits the solo home run, probably would have tied it, but you can't look at it that way. You give up a home run to Paul DeJong, who owns all of New York, the Mets and the Yankees. But other than that, I mean, you got the save the other day. It was a little nerve-wracking, but when, really anytime Devers, Bogarts, Martinez comes up in a big spot, you're nervous. So all in all, right now, I'm thinking we did a solid job with Scott Effross. Hayden Wesneski might turn into be a great starting pitcher, but it's the need that we needed at the moment. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I also his low 90s fastball has to look like 96 the way he throws. Like I really like his pitch mix. He also has, I'm pretty sure it's a changeup where that kind of overlays with the slider. When he has both of those working, I don't know how anybody's gonna hit him. So I like the upside with him. Obviously, the last side armor we had, true side armor, was Adam Ottavino that we saw for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
That's kind of probably leaving a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But overall, I think this was a good thing for sure. I think he's looked good. So
totally. And it is a sinker. I apologize. That's why I said it moved. I didn't know if it was a fastball or two-seamer sinker. Throws the sinker or slider 40.6% of the time, sinker 34.7, changeup 14, and fastball 10.7. He's funky. That's what he is. He, his sinker averages at 90.7, about. Yeah. So it's an interesting pickup from the Yankees, and I think that he's going to be, a very interesting pitcher down the stretch, and we have him, I think, until 2028, which is pretty crazy. Because he came up kind of late, I believe, and we're trading a starting pitching prospect, but we have him through 2028. So he's arbitration eligible in 25. He's going to be affordable, and like I just stress on the podcast, you could build a bullpen by not really paying anybody. So Scott Effross, New York Yankee. Moving on. So I'm on the plane going to Davis, California, and I get an alert that the Seattle Mariners have acquired Luis Castillo. And like in the moment, I'm not like, I'm mad, but like I was like, oh dang. And then I saw what they gave up. 18th prospect Noel V. Marte. And they gave up 2 more prospects. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I know they gave up Cole Stout who pitched at Lehigh, but it's just they gave up the 18th prospect in Marte. And then we just found out recently that the Yankees offered up Jason Dominguez for Luis Castillo, not Oswald Peraza. I understand not wanting Oswald Peraza when the Mariners are offering you Noelvi Marte, who's just the better prospect. But there's something about Jason Dominguez that's, yeah, he's 36 in baseball, but he's a switch hitting center fielder. Maybe they don't view him as a center fielder, but he's a switch hitter. He's fast. He's powerful. Maybe the Yankees are only willing to give up Dominguez, and maybe that's what broke the deal. But right now, I'm looking at it and I'm like, the Yankees really, really like, I mean, the Mariners got him and he threw 2 gems against us, like right in our face. It was boom. Like, he threw a gem against us in Cincinnati in the Bronx. I thought that was, pushed it over. Excuse me. Whoa. For us, I thought Castillo was a Yankee after he dominated us in our home ballpark, but it's not the case. And the Mariners pick him up. The Mariners are looking good. I think the Mariners are going to make the playoffs for the first time since 2001. Put it on the record here. And the Yankees didn't get him. So what did they do? They sent Ken Waldichuk, who was our best pitching prospect, Cooper Bowman, who was a little bit lower level prospect, JP Sears, who we saw a little bit, who pitched well for the Yankees, and Luis Medina, who's fireballer. And we got Frankie Montas, who everybody talked about as a potential acquisition, and Lou Trevino. I was a little bit annoyed at this deal. I think it was just kind of because we didn't get Castillo, and here we are trading Wisniewski and Waldichuk. And then you look at our pitching prospects, and it's like we have one in our top 10 now, and it's like we just gave up like any pitching prospects, and then we trade another starting pitcher later on in the deadline. It's like, all right, so what are we doing here? We don't love Garrett Cole. So why are we trading pitching prospects? Like, we have a ton of them because we don't. So we send Waldichuk, left-handed, throws upper 90s, got a funky leg kick, funky arm slot. Pretty much everything about him is funky. I liked him because he's kind of unique and looks like he hides the ball well. And that's what I like to see in a pitcher. Sears, I was a little bit annoyed about because I thought down the stretch Sears was going to be a big arm for us, making spot starts, maybe pitching along out of the bullpen. Like when the bullpen's taxed, you throw in JP Sears for 2-3 innings. Having a guy like that's big. They move him. I think he's going to do a nice job. He already pitched a game in Oakland, pitched pretty well. Cooper Bowman stole a lot of bases for us this year. Drafted him, I think, in 2021. Doesn't really look like he has too much with the bat. Luis Medina throws gas. In my opinion, I see Medina more as a relief pitcher. He doesn't really seem like a starter. His build is more reliever-like, I guess. So we bring in Montas, who everybody knows. And he's pitched well in Oakland. Obviously, his win-loss record doesn't reflect that, but he pitched in Oakland. Nice ERA. He's been in the league for a while now. Free agent after next season. Upper 90s fastball, 5-pitch mix. There's a cutter, slider. He's got good stuff. It's just not Luis Castillo stuff. Lou Trevino, a guy who was very good last year. He pitched over 70 games last year with a sub 3.5. For Oakland last year, pitched against us in the 2018 wildcard game. Pitched really well against us in that wildcard game. Pretty much stopped the bleeding after Hendricks, our best friend Liam Hendricks, just completely went and was really bad. Lou Trevino has been really bad this year, but he features 5 pitches, and that's intriguing out of the bullpen. Big guy, throws upper 90s. His fastball moves. He's projectable in our bullpen. Once again, not making much. So, I mean, all around, it's like, okay, the Yankees got Efros. The Yankees got Benintendi. The Yankees got Montas. They had another arm in the bullpen, not named Efros. They've, filled their needs. And I don't know, Luke can tell us a little bit about what Frankie and Trevino's done, but I mean, all around, like in the moment, it was more of like a B trade to me. Like I felt like it was a B. Like that, like this trade is a B.
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about how we handled the pitching. I think for starters, I think what you said about the Mariners getting just a better shortstop prospect in the Castillo trade, I honestly probably think that was what sold it to them. It's unfortunate just the way the prospects lined up, who they wanted, what they needed,
Mm-hmm.
just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I Waldichuk was such an intangibles guy on the mound, which I loved. Like I like those guys that aren't just like every other starter. Like you said, he hides the ball well, he has a little bit. He's different, which is
Yeah.
something we're gonna miss. But when I saw our trades and how we were trading a lot of our pitching, it's gotten me to think that we really don't know how to develop starting pitching. Like we haven't
Yeah.
done that in a long time. And
Yep.
well, we've tried to, it hasn't worked out.
We can
So
we can develop guys at the major league level, but throughout the minor league system, we struggle a little bit. Like
yeah,
Nestor
I mean,
Cortez, like you know what I'm saying?
homegrown guys from the minors haven't done
Yeah,
like the best
exactly.
one's been Jordan, and he's like, all right, like it's I don't know, it's that I think that's where I think they're kind of realizing their in-house strengths and weaknesses, where they can focus more on other areas and then fill in the major league level as it needs. And
Yep.
I was also thinking like Cole's locked up. Montas probably isn't going anywhere, assuming we just traded for him. You don't know what they're gonna do with Severino. It seems like they really want to make Clark Schmidt a starter the way they've been
Yeah.
sending him up and down, stretching him out, stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that has been part of the thought process. You have Domingo Herman. Like if you send Severino, there's not use for these guys the way the age works out. And I think they understood that. And obviously they did further in this Cardinals trade where they traded Jordan Montgomery, who's been around forever, for Harrison Bader. I think there's a lot of moving parts with that tells us that maybe they wanted to deal their pitching. I don't know. That's just kind of how when I sat back and watched as a whole, that's kind of what I gathered from it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like we have Nestor too. Like we have a lot of pitchers like at like kind of ready. So
yeah.
it makes sense that we chose to deal those guys in these trades to help us win now.
Yeah. I mean, the Montgomery trade was surprising,
Oh yeah,
and
I wasn't expecting that at all, but I don't know.
I just didn't right there in front of me. Like I know Harrison Bader is a good player and he plays the game 130% all the time, but there was something about Jordan Montgomery, and he had been struggling right before they traded him. He was, and you might disagree with this, he was maybe the most reliable starting pitcher. And just in terms of like what we knew we were going to get out of him at pretty much every given outing, he was going to go out there, give you 5 or 6 innings, 3, 4 runs, and keep you in the game. And for a 3 or 4 in a rotation, especially left-handed, that's I don't. He's not obviously an upper echelon starting pitcher in the big leagues, but he's a 3 or a 4, and he did his job the right way. You know, very professional guy. He always wanted, the extra out, the extra inning. He always wanted the ball in his hands. He wasn't really he was confident for being so quiet. He didn't really fold like when we desperately needed him. He gave it his best every single time. Sometimes he just didn't have it. That's kind of how lefties go, especially when you're not throwing 98, 99. He's throwing 93, 94, sometimes 95, which we saw when he pitched against us in St. Louis. You saw he was rearing back a little bit. Um, so that was a little weird. Just trading
Uh,
him. It's if they had no aspirations of using him in the postseason, I understand it completely. What's the point of having him? Now you're looking at the Yankees right now, and it's like, okay, like, but right now we like probably could have used him. because we're kind of falling apart, but the pitching's been all right. The pitching's been fine. So maybe not, but just having the extra arm there. Montgomery, goes out to St. Louis. We're calling Jamison Tyone our fifth starter when everyone's healthy. This Jordan Montgomery trade pretty much confirms, and Severino has confirmed himself, but Severino will say anything, that Severino will be back and will be able to start games in the postseason. There's just such a long layoff for that. He's coming back in late September. Or maybe mid-September. I think that's when he's eligible. It's just a little odd. I got to say that the way they've handled this whole Severino thing with like the 60-day IL is odd because he's already started to throw, and I guess that's just on schedule, but he said right after Montgomery got traded that he could have pitched the next day if he needed to. I don't really understand where they're going with the Severino. If Severino isn't back, then they really, really mess this up. Really.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I think this is kind of a product of the stuff we talked about on the trade deadline episode, where it was
totally.
if we trade for a starting pitcher like Castillo or Montas, which we did, then that probably means Severino's out for a while, which he is. But the way you kind of thought about it as more of a phantom IL, I don't think that's necessarily phantom, but you have to factor in he hasn't thrown a lot of innings in many years.
Yeah.
He's probably hurt a little bit at least. He says he feels good. And then when they go and trade Jordan Montgomery, that just confirms that would be almost the same effect as us not trading for a starter, where it's we know Severino's going to be back. Now we have Cole, Montas, Nestor, and then if Sevy's back, then Montgomery's our fifth, which we have another 5 in JMO, and then Herman's been stepping up. So I really don't think his absence has been felt too much yet. I really think that all hinders on whether or not Severino comes back. I don't think we can even assess this until we know for sure what the deal is with Severino.
I mean, when you look at the 60-day IL, and I had also been saying it could be phantom because of the innings, because he just hasn't thrown too many, and neither is Nestor. Nestor's pretty similar.
He's rubber though.
He's rubber. You're right.
Yeah.
It's just in terms of just the pitching for the pitches for Severino, the pitch, how many innings he's gone. It does make sense. I just think, I guess there was just no other choice just to put him on the 60. There's nothing in between, because I just don't really like how he's only going to make 2 or 3 more starts before he goes into the playoffs. It just makes me feel a little bit uneasy. Maybe it'll all work out, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Can he make rehab starts on the 60-day?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he can just rehab. You can go through a rehab assignment. They don't have to activate him, I don't believe, to make rehab assignments. So, or make a rehab assignment. I don't think that's the way it works. That's not how it works for offensive players. So,
there's been a common conception that we thought we were getting Pablo Lopez.
Yeah.
Which on the surface, I thought when I saw that trade, I was like, Lopez is a Yankee. That's what I thought immediately. But now that we've kind of sat back and digested our personnel and what we have, I really don't think that's the case unless Sevy doesn't come back. Then it's just a total nightmare, which we've been saying from the get-go. It all hinders on that.
Yep.
But I'm not as big into thinking we had a done deal for Lopez as the public necessarily is. I definitely think there were talks because that would have been a genius if he pulled that off. But
I don't
know.
They wanted one of Glaber, Volpe, or Peraza, and the Yankees weren't, because they pulled. It wasn't we originally thought that the Yankees were just offering Peraza for Castillo, but they didn't include Peraza in any of their trade talks. And if they offered something for Ohtani, which came out that they did, maybe Peraza was in that deal. And if they had offered something for Soto, Peraza was going to be in the deal. But just for like realistic trades themselves, I don't think Peraza was in any of the talks because,
Don't think they offered him for Castillo.
well, John Heyman said that they didn't. So they said that they offered
Mm.
him Dominguez and not Peraza. I don't think they would try to do a smokescreen 2 weeks after the deadline. I think that's probably true. If it come out like right then and there that the Yankees had, all right, maybe they might be playing mind games, but I personally think at this point, well, why come out with information that they, why come out with
So
misinformation,
does that mean he's going to get called up?
You got to think that that's definitely a possibility because no one could really think. Like, I think Volpe could come up right now and do pretty good, but I don't think he's ready. And they don't want to start his clock, and they don't want to, they don't want to screw up
a lot of risk.
development.
Yeah,
There's a lot of risk. Now Peraza, you can kind of play your card a little bit. You can pull him up. The problem is, if you pull him up and he stinks, then it's like, all right, well, we could have traded him. And now it's like we're just gonna try to use his prospect rating as, reason to justify that he's a good like ball player. I think his glove is fantastic. I think he's a very quick runner. He can hit for power. I'm concerned about the average. I don't really think he's gonna hit more than 240. But if he hits home runs, he plays good defense, and he steals bases, all right. Right now, obviously, like that's what I'm comparing. Like I'm comparing him to IKF right now. Now you think about the offseason with all the names coming out, that's like Bogarts, Correa, Trey Turner, if Correa opts out. I'm not taking my risk with Oswald Peraza. I'm going to go get the sure thing. But right now it's kind of like we don't have the flexibility to do it, but we might just do it because we kind of need to. I do think that they're going to wait until, August 31st, like the last second that they can call up Peraza, because just let him get the at-bats in the minor leagues. And then when you call him up, because then he'll be eligible for the postseason. There's really no point in calling him up after August 31st midnight because then he can't play in the postseason. So what's the point? His clock doesn't start yet, but you're risking injury. So yeah, we're going kind of off the rails here, but like
it's all tied in. It really is all tied in. Because if they didn't offer him, then that shows you something.
Right. So let's talk about Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader had his breakout season last year for St. Louis. He hit 267, 16 home runs, 50 RBIs, 324 on base, but a 460 slugging. So that comes out to 785 OPS, a 115 OPS plus. He won Gold Glove, scored 45 runs, but he only played in 103 games. So he had 16 home runs in 103 games. That's 20 homer pace, like 65 RBIs. And, he didn't really steal a ton of bases. His strikeouts aren't really that bad, actually. He's kind of, in my eyes, like a light LITE version of Byron Buxton. Like has power. Byron Buxton kind of changed the way he was playing this year, but in the past, Byron Buxton, hits like 250, 260, can hit like 20 home runs, just runs around the outfield like a wide receiver, and just plays great defense. So, he's under contract till 2024, and he's actually so he signed through 23 on a 2-year, $10 million deal. So we only have him through next year. He'll probably be the opening day center fielder. The Yankees' worst defensive position was center field. It's not including Judge, it's including Hicks. So you got good defense, and
you can't run fast in a boot though.
Yeah, no, exactly. So
I don't know.
This year, up to
this
his
up in the air.
plantar fasciitis, 256, 5 home runs, 21 RBIs, but he did have 15 steals in 72 games. He only had 9 in 103 last year. So stealing more bases, only caught twice. So the averages are right. The OPS stinks at 673, but I mean, he hasn't played, I believe, since June 26th. So it's just that was another thing that made the Montgomery trade a little bit weird was that the guy's hurt right now. It's not like he's going to come up right here, right now and contribute because, and I kept saying it to Luke, if you wanted a Gold Glove center fielder, you could have just gone to the Royals, who we just traded an outfield for because I didn't know we were going to actually go get an outfielder, another one after Andrew Benintendi, and you go and try to get Michael Taylor, who's hitting 275 with 6 home runs and won a Gold Glove last year and has played in the World Series, making less money, signed through 2023, just like Harrison Bader, 31 years old. Like, it made a little more sense. And you wouldn't have given up Jordan Montgomery for Michael A. Taylor. Like, and the Royals wouldn't have wanted Jordan Montgomery. Like, well, they definitely would have, but what does Jordan Montgomery do for them? They're not going to trade Michael Taylor for a player who's going to just walk in free agency a year later. So the Bader trade, all in all, was a little bit weird. I understand the Montgomery side. The Bader side's a little confusing. Hey, if he comes in next year, has a 785 OPS and can steal 20 bases and hit 20 home runs, to my cat, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
It shows that Hicks is done, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, Hicks might be on the team as, the 4th, 5th outfielder, but Hicks isn't making the postseason roster.
No shot. Yeah, and even if we re-sign Benintendi, then Hicks is gone.
Probably. I don't know what they're going to do with that money, but they'll probably just stick it where they can't see it.
Yeah, that exactly.
So, yeah, no, the deadline was a little odd.
I liked it.
They filled their needs, but I guess not to my kind of expectation. I thought it was going to be Castillo. I was very cool with Benintendi. The Brian Reynolds talk, the Ian Happ talk. Like, Ian Happ, I didn't want Ian Happ that much. His numbers looked great, but
also neither of them got traded, so it's hard to
yeah, exactly. Houston got better. Houston got Vasquez and Mancini, but just lost. Well, he had been hurt. Michael Brantley had a season-ending surgery. So it's not like Houston went above and beyond. They did get Will Smith, which is a pretty solid bullpen arm because he's pitching like every postseason, like the last 5 or 6 years. They didn't have another lefty other than some guy I really haven't heard of.
I thought they were going to do more in the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, they have a ton of right-handed relievers. A ton. Maton, Neris, Stanek, Ryan Presley. I'm forgetting names, but they have a ton of it. They just didn't really have any lefties there. So, I mean, they could have maybe David Robertson, but maybe they just didn't like David Robertson.
Yeah.
I personally like Robertson more than Neris, but I mean, that's what they're going for.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't love their relievers.
Oh no, I don't either. It's just they just have a bunch of, major league, established relief pitchers. It's not like Rafael Montero's good.
Yes, he is. He is good.
So that's their bullpen. It's all right-handed, and Will Smith now, who, like I said, is tons of postseason experience. So now Luke and I are gonna kind of. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say. I mean, if we keep playing like the way we're about to read these stats, I don't think it's gonna matter who's in Houston's bullpen because these. Let's see. We wrote down 2, 4, 7 names, and
Trevino you leave off.
Trevino, yeah, you leave off, but 5 of them have been like, I mean, Glaber. Okay, Glaber in August, 6 for 47, 1 extra base hit, no home runs. Josh Donaldson, 12 for 44, 6 extra base hits, 2 home runs. But
they all came in like 2 games.
So that's not. I don't care. Like, that's not. No. IKF, 10 for 37, 1 home run. He's been trash except for 1 game. That's
better than 2. That's actually. I think that's 270, but okay, continue. It's the same.
You know what I mean?
It's just IKF being IKF.
It's IKF, yeah. That's not even fair to him. He's just being himself. Hicks 5 for 39, no extra base hits. We talked about that enough in April, May, and June. I don't even want to do it. Rizzo came back 3 for 26, 2 home runs. Rizzo slow start.
He's got like a 136 OPS plus. Like that's insane.
He's
And he's hitting 220. Like he still somehow has such a high OPS plus.
yeah. I mean, because we have guys like Joey Gallo and IKF just weighing it down. He
We don't have
Rizzo's
Joey
been.
Gallo anymore, by the way. We didn't
I
even
just mean
talk
like
about that. We didn't even
for
talk about it. We traded Joey Gallo for Clayton Beater. I don't have to say anymore. We traded Joey Gallo and he's playing like Babe Ruth on the Dodgers.
sweet. Yeah, man. I don't know. Rizzo's just been like I think a little cold for like a good portion of the season, but it's one of those where like
It's
if
just like
we lose,
220 to 228, 220 to 228. It's just like it's going in like he'll hit a big home run and it'll like 226. Like he's not
he's
it's just not moving, you know?
him and Stanton are the two players where the regular season means maybe the least out of any players like in the whole league.
In our opinion, yeah. I mean,
Because like I
because it's
don't
just whatever. I mean, you figure you're gonna get to the postseason. It's what these guys do in the postseason. Because if they do nothing in the postseason, we're not winning.
that's
So
what I mean. It's like you live and die with those guys.
sure,
Judge obviously 12 for 36, 4 home runs, 13 walks.
13
The
walks.
I knew when I saw only 36 plate appearances that the walks were going to be stupid, and they just are.
Well, if you do the math there, he's walking a third of the time because he's 36, 13,
He's also
13, and
hitting a third.
13. Yeah,
He's also hitting
he's
a
got 12 hits and 13
third.
walks. So he's pretty much getting a hit like he's pretty much
So
getting on
on
base
base,
2/3 of the time
5.
almost.
Wait,
No, it's like half the time.
yeah, okay.
25 for 49 on base. Yeah.
Yes, half bang, and then DJ 11 for 47, 4 extra base hits. He's been dealing with a toe issue. He says he's going to get a cortisone and be in the lineup. He got one at the All-Star break, another cortisone. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing really to say about him, but it's really those first like 5 players that we
Who's the guy we're
mentioned,
missing? Oh, like
like
well,
LeCastro and Duhar, like that
yeah.
spot because Carpenter's been out, but I don't even. They're not going to hit in important games, I don't think, unless Andujar picks it up. So I didn't.
Hey, Miggy
Yeah,
keeps getting hits, man. It's a hit every day. Keeps the doctor
guess.
away. Keeps
I
Scranton
guess.
away.
Yeah, better keep hitting. But yeah, I mean, with Matt Carpenter going out and then those 5 hitters not doing anything, and then Benintendi having a little bit of a slow start as well, it really shows you
Yeah.
why we're losing.
Yeah,
Like
no, I mean,
there's nothing to. I don't even know. There's nothing left to say about the offense. They've just been horrible, and
yeah.
I think Glaber has hit the ball hard at times.
Yeah.
Rizzo is going to come around. Judge is good.
Rizzo.
Rizzo. Hicks won't play. I don't know. Shortstop it'll either be IKF or Peraza, which
Yeah.
we'll let that play out.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I guess I really wanted to note that Domingo Germán's been really good the last 3 starts since we traded Montgomery, because if that can just continue until Severino comes back, then we didn't see any loss from this Montgomery trade. He's gone 16 innings, 15 hits, 4 runs, 5 walks, 8 Ks, 2.25 ERA. Beautiful. I mean, that's all you can ask for in a like if he was getting lit up, we'd be asking for JP Sears, we'd be asking for Jordan Montgomery back, we'd be asking for Clark Schmidt, and
Yeah.
that's happened. Regardless of his role in the postseason, whether he's like a long reliever or nothing, this has still been big for him, even though we're not
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, and I mean, to go along with that, Jameson Tyone, I almost said Jameson Montgomery, who are best friends actually.
So sad.
JMO was pretty roughed up about it. So was obviously Montgomery. He's going over there, and Montgomery's been great. He hasn't given up a run. He's pitched like 13 innings and hasn't given up a run yet. In St. Louis, so good for him. I was sad to see him go. He's been on the Yankees since 2017. It's sad. It's crazy that he was like, I think, second longest tenured player, which is just crazy to me. So after JMO, had to recover emotionally after getting roughed up in Seattle at home. 14 innings pitched against Seattle and Boston, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts. You might be like, oh, 6 earned runs in 14 innings, 9 hits. Well, he's given us back-to-back 7-inning starts on the road against, I'm not going to call Boston a playoff team, but when we play Boston, they play us like a playoff team. 6 earned runs, 3 earned runs in each start, so 7 and 3 is fine.
Yeah.
More than
So-
enough. More than enough. And when he's been pitching, like he's preserving the bullpen. He's doing a really good job at that because we've had some games where it's like we just use everybody in the bullpen, like we did in Seattle. Next day rolls around and we have no one. So we have to pitch freaking Albert Abreu. I'm actually excited for Miguel Castro to come back because I don't want to see Albert Abreu pitch anymore. I was all in on the Albert Abreu train when they got him back. Just give him a chance. And his numbers were fine at the beginning, but now he stinks. But we're going to go back a second. So those are really the two bright spots for the Yankees in this. I mean, those are their last like 2-3 starts, which is pretty embarrassing. But I just want to talk about Matt Carpenter because Matt Carpenter was just such a big part to this team. Like 2.4 WAR in 47 games. That's, on pace for, a like close to an 8 WAR in a full season. Like that's absurd. And Judge is at 7-7 right now. I mean, and what he's doing, you weigh it out. Carpenter was hitting 3-0, and Carpenter was pretty much like playing, like he was the DH for most of it, playing some first base. 305 average, 15 home runs, 37 RBIs, a 412 on base, a 727 slugging, an 1138 OPS, and a 218 OPS plus. It's not like he did it in 6 games, people. He was doing it in 47 games. He was such a big part to this team, and he adds so much, not just individually, but around him. He forced pitchers to pitch to certain guys. Him being in the lineup, just like he's almost like a hitting coach, but like he's hitting with the team. Maybe he didn't help anybody. Maybe he didn't help anybody in the lineup at all. It just felt like the offense just got in another gear when he was playing. And, since he went down, the offense went completely silent. We won 9-4 the game he won. And then after that, we didn't score. I don't think he scored more than 3 runs.
When I used to always talk about like a professional at bat and a presence in the box, like that's him. And it forced pitchers to actually pitch to the guy.
Yeah.
Where Glaber, JD, and IKF just swing at everything and have no plan. It's like such a different, like I feel like if nobody has an approach in the lineup, you're just gonna go up there without an approach, like by human reaction. But having Rizzo in there, having Carpenter in there, those are two. I mean, obviously Judge, but that doesn't even count. He's just a freak. Those two where they just see pitches, see a ton of pitches, that feeds into these guys where you see now they're just swinging at every ball, just trying to make contact. Like there's no plan. I liked how Carpenter always had a plan. The count was always full. That's what he brought to the table. And even if he wasn't hitting a home run every 3 at bats, which he just was, I feel like his lineup presence has just been missed in terms of how people have approached at bats since he's been hurt.
It honestly brought, like, I was actually, and don't call me you know what, but like I almost got emotional, like when he got hurt. Like, I don't know. Like he's done so much. Like it's insane. Like just hit like and I wanted to, and he might come back. I'm not gonna like put all my money on that. He's 36. It is in the foot, so maybe it's just like I feel like he would have added something in the postseason that we don't have. And maybe
he could DH.
He'll DH. It's just like, oh, like why did that have to happen? Like we wouldn't have lost the last 4 series or last 3 series if he's in the lineup. Like we lost like 2 out of 3, like 2 or 3 times. So yeah, no, not fun. It's like you go one day from getting the standing ovation every single game in St. Louis to your first game on the road and you foul a ball off your foot and your season's on the verge of being over. So
It's
life,
I
man.
feel like
Life.
when he got hurt, you and I was not confident and you were confident. Now I feel like it's almost flipped. Just thinking about it, he'll be able to come
Because we
be
keep losing.
yeah, that's
I'm just in a
that's what I
bad
mean.
mood in general. So I think that's
But
part of it.
if we once everything starts clicking, Benintendi, DJ Judge Rizzo, Stanton comes back, and God forbid Glaber and these other guys learn how to hit,
Yeah.
and you add that, it's gonna be like it's gonna feel like a whole new team just because of us not having him to us having
Yeah.
him back. So I think if this team learns how to hit without him and then we get him back, I really think we're gonna be scary.
If he comes back, like there's also just a human aspect of it, like coming back from an injury and contributing, that's super hard. Like that's not easy. And he was already a guy that wasn't, and this is another thing, he wasn't playing every day, but when he would play, he would just kill everybody. He was just killing everything. You don't see that a lot. You hear me specifically talking about, or maybe just conversation with Luke. Well, he didn't get enough at bats. He didn't get enough at bats. He couldn't get on a roll. Matt Carpenter didn't need enough at bats. He was just going bam, 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 rest, 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 bam, bam, bam. Like it was just Matt Carpenter. If he somehow comes back and is what he was, and the Yankees go on to win the World Series, he might be my favorite player ever. Just because he wasn't supposed to be on the team in the beginning, and he comes in, we get him for absolutely nothing, and he in that situation helps win it all. Like something that I've wanted since the second grade, and we got him for nothing. Now we're gonna go have to pay Aaron Judge $40 million next year just to make the division series. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Matt Carpenter brought that, and I'm crossing my fingers he can come back, do his thing, and just put pressure on the pitchers. Like that's just that in itself. So
Yeah.
there's my
What you just said about how he would just come in and hit regardless was like the reverse of the Andujar conversation we had earlier in the year, where it's
Mhm.
like the reason he didn't stick and hasn't stuck is because he has to be in the lineup and have four
Yes.
at bats every day. And if you can find a hitter that doesn't need that but will still produce, it's unreal how
It's
much.
game changing, man. It's game changing. It's organizational changing. It's everything. So yeah, no, like I said, cross my fingers, and I know he's gonna do all he can. And I want that guy in the dugout. Can he just be in the dugout, man? Like, can he do his rehab and then just be in the dugout? Because he adds I mean, you just hear players talking about him. Who was the first person that came up to Jordan Montgomery? And yes, he played for that team. First person that came up to Jordan Montgomery after he got traded, Matt Carpenter. Goes on and on about how it's just a world-class organization. And see, St. Louis is. So that's just the kind of person he is. It's more than the game with Matt Carpenter. And I might be just going on and on about Matt Carpenter, but he's just done so much to this team. So it's warranted. Something that Luke and I, you hear it on the short porch, shout out. We did it last year, I think once, and it was in around this time, actually in August. It was, I think, right around the Field of Dreams game. So it's
I
kind
feel
of
like it's a
funny.
panic mechanism.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe.
honestly, thinking
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, you've been talking about this the last 2 weeks, and here we are on the
Yeah, because we
podcast.
haven't won a game.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why. But yeah, no,
So
I like it though.
we've added two names that are not currently on the major league roster, um, which makes absolutely no sense. One kind of makes sense, one doesn't
Clark.
make sense at all. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 arms that we're just gonna rank out, and a reliever trust tree is basically who do you have the most confidence in? It might just be who hasn't screwed up yet to lose your confidence. Um,
That is what it is.
so that's that's just what it is. Luke just said it. So going off that, Lou Trevino is I'm not saying Trevino, Lou Trevino is my number one most trusted reliever at this current moment? Luke?
I have the same. When he came over and pitched well in his first appearance, I was like
Yeah.
joking around, like, "Oh, this is my guy. Like, he's best. Like, he's really good," and he just has been. So and the way the bullpen's been around him, there's no other name, which is crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, right now, Game 7 of the World Series, we're up by 1 in the 9th. Lou Trevino's on the mound. So
Boy, would that be nerve-wracking. And that's number one. So this only goes downhill from here.
that
Um, number two, you got to go Scott Efros. He's, gave up that homer to DeYoung, but he's been pretty locked down his other innings. I see Luke has the same. I'm not gonna just go back and
I mean,
we have the same. We have the same. My third guy is Ron Marinaccio. Um, the fact that Ron Marinaccio, who I think gave up like one hit and like 56 batters or something insane, the fact that like I understand like the business of baseball and like options and all of that, but Albert Abreu just like single-handedly he didn't single-handedly lose the game. Nestor gave up the run, then Albert came in and kind of screwed it
he
up.
did lose. Abreu
But
lost that game.
Abreu
And the offense.
catalyzed the loss, and he's just on the big league roster, and it's because he has no options left, so they don't want to DFA him because they know some other team's just going to pick him back up because he was good for a week. So they can't send him down unless he clears waivers, and then they can option him. Now, Marinaccio is just a beast, and he's just sitting in the minors. And a guy that's in the minor leagues as we speak is my third name on my trust tree, and that says a lot.
Well, I have Chapman at third because he's been really good, but I kind of have it a little bit tiered, like, and I have Ron and Wandy on the same one. But in 4 through 6 of my bullpen trust tree, 2 of them are in the minors.
Yeah,
So it's just
three
no matter how you
three through 5 for me.
3, it's like it's a problem that's the case,
That's a problem.
and it's cool because it feels like we have reinforcements coming, which we do. But yeah, I mean, I had to give Chapman the nod. He's looked really good. He had that weird inning in Boston, and then he got a pick off, which kind of bailed him out. But I'm gonna choose to ignore that until he gets in and walks 4 batters the next time he comes in.
He just isn't in the closing role, so I haven't really generated any like if he's gonna like pitch us like clean innings, like that's what I thought he was gonna do, just clean 7th, clean 8th here and there.
Mhm.
But if he's not in the closing role, I can't have full trust because if he was doing this in the closing role, he'd be number 1. On my list, he's number 4. And then following Chapman, just like you do. Even though Chapman's my 4th, you have Clark Schmidt as your 4th. I have Clark Schmidt as my 5. Clark Schmidt is in the bullpen, or would be in the bullpen right now, most likely, but he's in the minor leagues getting stretched out, and I think, had 11 strikeouts and like 6 perfect innings in his last start. Like he's a beast. And I know I would just like give Luke crap, like, why do you like Clark Schmidt? SEC, like, no, like I'm actually like all about Clark Schmidt right now because I do think he's gonna be on the team next year. So I'm mentally preparing myself to be optimistic about someone who's, got good stuff. And it's just exciting. He threw 100. I say it on like every other episode when his name comes up, but he threw like 100 out of the bullpen once, and I was so fired up. I don't know where that came from.
He's gonna go all out for an inning or 2 this postseason run, and I mean, that's awesome.
Sure.
And then
So
yeah,
you got your tiered.
Yeah, I mean, I have Ron and Wandy on the same tier. It doesn't really like they're kind of the same level of trust, but way different arms. But I think both of them are going to be important and involved in the playoffs, and they don't stink. Ron's been gross. Hopefully, you can. I think him being low is more like I don't believe he's gonna come back up and continue. I don't know if I don't believe it, but it's just I have to see it. So
Yeah.
right now he's a little lower. But yeah, no, both of them are going to be a part of the postseason, and they've done some big things. Wandy's got us out of some jams recently.
Yep.
Which means he's due for a stinker. That's just how Wandy works, which is unfortunate. But yeah, No, they've both been good.
Yeah. So Wandy, I feel like they always put him in like when the game's about to be over. They like put him in right just so the other
Faster.
team could hit a walk off. And he actually got through it the other night. Wandy's after Schmidt on my list at number 6. Number 7 for me, I got Lucas Litke. Very under the radar, 2.75 ERA. In his last 15 games, he's thrown 21 and 2/3 innings at a 1.66 ERA. I think it would be. I mean, dude, he had a 2.74 ERA last year and a 2.75 ERA this year, and he might not be our favorite reliever, and we don't love to see him out there, and his ERA might be a little bit misleading. But right now, Lucas Litke is doing a hell of a job, and he doesn't pitch enough on purpose. So that's number 7 on my list. Who do you got at
Yeah.
that next tier?
Well, spoiler, I have Lucas Licky last, but that's because I chose not to even put Albert Abreu on the list.
So why
I
did
mean,
Lucas Litke have to pay the price?
well, because I ranked it based off who I want to see in a
Okay.
big moment, and so Lucas Licky naturally ended up last. My after my Ron and Wandy tier is another tier. Loizaga and Clay Holmes, because I'm equally as unconfident in seeing both of them come to the game with the hopeful result of them pitching a clean inning. I mean, Clay can't throw a strike, and when he does,
Yeah.
it's straight down the middle. Loizaga's looked better.
Threw a scoreless inning the other day or yesterday.
Like he just throws some pitches that are so horribly executed that they just ruin his outing.
It's just like decision making. That's all it is. I think it's decision making. It's like no, it's like he'll like throw like a change up when he's got a guy like 0-2, like after he
But
throws
he'll
2 fastballs and they can't catch up, he'll throw a change up down the middle. It's like
Well, that's
what?
yeah. I guess I've been focusing more on the down the middle part, but
Yeah.
they're both
Yeah.
very like
Yeah.
they both matter. Where it's like you're making the wrong decision and then you're hanging it.
Yeah.
To
Just
death.
beat him with your best pitch, man. Like don't overthink it. So
Clay
like
Holmes.
Clay Holmes can't beat anybody with any pitch because he's not throwing it in the zone. I don't really. I saw someone on Twitter that was saying that Clay Holmes was using sticky stuff. It was actually that MLB Nerds account, which I actually think is pretty reliable based on what I saw during the trade. They came out with the Montage trade before really anybody, and they were saying that
swing and
Clay
miss
Holmes,
a lot.
Clay Holmes is consistently going to his hat every pitch, and I heard from a birdie that they're really not checking the sticky stuff anymore. It's kind of like inconsistent, and it's some guys are getting away with it. I think relievers get checked when they go into the game, but once they're in the game, like if they got something in their hat or in their pocket or something, they're not getting. I don't think they're getting checked after the inning. So the starter can go in and out of the dugout and go get stuff and then checked between each inning, but the reliever can. If you're just going, one inning, then maybe Clay Holmes has been using it. I heard Ian Anderson's probably using it too. So
all right, Clay, figure out how to cheat again. It's really my own
So 8, 9, I have Holmes, Loizaga, and then I put Albert Abreu. His name's initials is AA. He should be in AA. He's number 10. I actually like Albert Abreu as like the pitcher. It's just he's been terrible. Like I like his stuff. He has good stuff. He struck out Suarez before he gave up that home run. Like it was a very nice pitch. He fooled him completely and then just threw an 88-mile-an-hour slider to one of the more, veteran at bat guys in the league. Like it's unfortunate.
He's so annoying because he throws 100 and it runs half a foot and he just doesn't throw every single pitch. Like, why are you throwing 87 slider that stinks? Like, he's more like a frustrating because it's not like his fastball 93. Like, you throw 100, throw it. Like, that's
throw
really
with confidence, man. I think that's what it is. Throw your fastball with confidence. If you're throwing your fastball like you're like holding it back and like you're scared to throw it, you're gonna get pounded.
Yeah,
Because then your
Garrett
secondary
Cole
stuff's going to
about
stink
that.
because your fastball should be your number one trusted pitch if that's the case. So Albert Abreu at 10. So that's what it is. And
Lock
we
him
were going
and
to talk
Garrett
about,
Cole and just be like throw the fastball for 24 hours.
yeah,
And then
except Garrett Cole throws flat fastballs, but be like Garrett Cole. Just talk to Garrett Cole. Ask Garrett Cole why he throws
no,
those
I'm
fastballs.
saying they both need to go to some like fastball rehab and just learn how to throw it with confidence.
I mean, Garrett Cole throws it with confidence. He throws it every pitch, Luke.
Does he throw it with confidence though? If he's giving up 6 runs in an inning,
Well,
like
no,
I
his
don't know.
fastball's just flat. Confidence doesn't matter in terms of movement. His fastball doesn't move. It's flat. It's just flat. He might
Then
have
you
a
got
little late tail, but that's only when he's doing okay. Like,
you got
no.
to locate, man.
Like
They
the
got
home
to
run he gave up
locate.
to Kalanick at home, which was like up and away, and he just went around it and just hit it out, was absurd. Like, your fastball stinks when a guy who can't hit 130, a buck 30, is hitting your fastball up and away and pulling it out of the yard. Like, he's
I
just ready
thought
for it.
I thought Kalanick like scooped one.
No, dude, it was up and away and just totally no, dude, I remember. They showed it the other day. That's why I'm like talking about it because I like remembered it.
Either way, if Jared Kalanick's hitting a home run off Garrett Cole, then I just assume that he's tipping because that's just not real. But yeah,
Yeah, no, we're going to
wow.
see Cole pitch
Pitching
tonight.
tonight.
What?
He's pitching tonight.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, hopefully he does something similar as to what he did last time when we were there
He
cuz
will.
hopefully
He will.
I'm going to show you the pitch on the here we go.
Here, turn it. That's it. Oh, it's not high.
It wasn't high, but it was blown away. You
Yes.
can't really scoop something away. That's what I was trying to say.
You can't. He was tipping. That was a ridiculous swing.
Probably.
He was tipping. That's final.
We were going to end the podcast talking about Oswald Peraza, IKF. We talked about it. IKF, he plays the game really hard. He's just what he is. He's a 270 hitter who will play good defense, won't hit home runs, extra base hit here and there. Steals bases pretty efficiently. Kind of overthinks the routine play sometimes. I think that's just added pressure from playing in New York.
One thing I will say, I've been pretty adamant on kind of phasing him out. I'm a little scared of him in the playoffs with these routine plays. The way I used to get upset about Hicks, about Voit, guys like that, where Donaldson now, where it's like you're struggling and you have no change of approach. You're all about yourself, complaining about playing time, blah, blah, blah. IKF is so for the team.
Yeah.
Like you saw earlier, like he laid a bunt down, got the winning run over. Like he lays out on
he
defense.
scored the winning run.
He bunted it in, I thought.
Yeah. You said he got him over, but yeah.
That's what. Yeah, he bunted
Yeah. Sorry.
No, like just like stuff like that, where it's like that's strictly for the team, and
Yeah.
I'll never hate a guy when he's as for the team as IKF is. He steals a lot. He does stuff like that. His offensive upside is just so low that
It's just
it
a
kills
different
him.
player. It's like an old-fashioned guy that didn't really have much of a bat.
You
And
have to hit doubles though, like
uh,
sometimes, or like I don't know. It's really just the way he. I think it may be he doesn't like he tries to hit every pitch.
yeah, I know. And honestly, like if that's the 9 hole of our lineup and we've got guys around, like I was thinking like playoff lineup, you have Carpenter and Duhar at the bottom, where it's Carpenter and Duhar, Trevino and IKF. It's not like you just have a black hole. Like because IKF won't be a black hole because he puts the bat on the ball so much. Like he just puts the ball in play over and over. It might be a black hole, the result might be a black hole, but it doesn't feel like it. Like he might get a hit here. He's hitting 270. He'll get a hit a day. It's just it's just a single. So it's not like he's gonna come up and
Yeah,
hit a home run, which he did the other day. But
I think when our team team is at full strength, I'm not as upset with the offensive side. It's this full year, it's really just been like I'm terrified of him. There's one guy every year I feel like on defense in the playoffs that just
Yeah.
loses it, and I'm worried that that's him. Offensively, I think if, like you said, he's in that like 7 hole, like
9 hole.
be a 9 hole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Second lead off.
yeah. He'll be okay.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't think it would hurt to see Oswald hit a couple home runs and see if he can do it consistent. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the idea of putting a rookie in that position. Shortstop for the New York Yankees going into the playoffs has nothing really behind it. That's not like you're sticking a center fielder in there, which is also pretty hard. Or or a second baseman, like it's shortstop. It's not like
just put Peraza in a room and just make him watch the entire Captain documentary for 2 days straight, and then just send him out there.
sure, if that's what it takes to win, I am all for it. Well, thank you guys all for listening and watching. We apologize for a little bit of a delay. We've been busy. Yanks have been playing bad baseball. Kind of wanted to just put it all together in one episode, and I think we did a fairly nice job at just kind of breaking it all down, talking about what we need, what we don't need, and we're gonna go play a couple divisional games, and we're gonna get through the dog days of August, and hopefully come in hot in September, and play good that month because we honestly need it. And who knows, maybe we'll get the number 1 seed. That's still not out of the realm of possibility. So
I don't know. We're 2 years back in the loss column.
Yeah,
I think there's still a very solid chance. We just need that winning streak that we had last year as soon as we got back to school. We got back to school and the Yankees won like every game for 2 weeks.
13 in a row.
That's something that we need. Hopefully, us not going back at different times doesn't put a nix on that. But I'm tired of August. I don't like it.
I like being home, but I don't like
I don't like
playing
Yankees
bad baseball. I don't like the Yankees August. I like August, but I don't like Yankee August. All right, well, links in the description. Go click them all. Go follow them all. Do your thing. Thank you, guys. Peace.